everyone. A year ago right now, I was directing my first play. It was These Shining Lives by Melanie Marnick, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the planning and the designing. I loved uniting the creative vision of the show. I loved directing the flow of storytelling. I loved bringing things out of my students that they didn't even know they had in them. When we opened on May 17th in 2019 to raving audiences, I felt alive. And I thought, maybe I want to be a director someday. Maybe this is what I want to do. How many of you have had that moment where everything just clicks and you think, I want to do this with my life? It's exciting, right? Flash forward to now, and I'm a student at Liberty University in the Theater Arts Bachelor of Science program. And disclaimer, I love my department. I love my major, love my school, love my classmates, I love my professors, and the work we do here is of such high quality. But as a student here, I feel that I have the authority to point out the fatal flaw in the program, which is that my department just doesn't provide the individualized, specialized education for production students as it does for performance students. So today we're going to talk about what that looks like and why it needs to be fixed. First, we're going to talk more in depth about the problem, which is that production students aren't getting the attention they need, specifically in directing. And then we're going to talk about one small, accomplishable thing the theater department can do to get results right now for its production students. So what's the problem? First, we're going to talk about some context. Right now, Liberty has the 2 BFA degrees, one in acting and one in musical theater, and then 2 generalist degrees that combine acting, design, directing, and management all into one degree. A few years ago, they split the performance major into those 2 BFA programs because performers do find themselves split into those 2 lanes. You have your Broadway musical, theme parks, dancey lane, and then you have your more film acting, hardcore, straight play lane, which makes sense. And these new BFA programs would allow different types of performers to get the education they need in the lane of performance that they're going to pursue. But the same was not true of Liberty's production program. Just like in performance, production students generally find themselves in lanes. There are 3 common ones. That's stage management, design, and directing. And just like it's really rare to find a performer who can go perform in theme parks all day and then get a gig doing hardcore film stuff, it's rare to find a production student who's going to do directing and design and stage management, all of them in their career. But the department has smushed everything into one degree. And as a result, there's a disproportionate amount of design classes as opposed to stage management and directing classes. And production students are just not getting the individualized attention and education they need to be prepared for their future careers. The Bachelor of Science degree in theater does not effectively cater to students of varying interests and career paths in the professional world of theater production, specifically in directing. That's the problem. So, what's the solution then? Ideally, in the future, we would want 3 new degree concentrations that offer specialized production tracks, just like what they did with the performance program. But that would probably take multiple years, probably some new professors, definitely a more established body of production students, definitely more money. So that's more of a long-term goal. Right now, I'm going to talk about a more short-term, accomplishable goal that's just a simple tweak to the BS program that will affect students right now, this year, and will hardly cost the department any money. Theater 331 is a class that I have to take in my major, stage management and directing, and right now I'm going to propose that we take this class and put it into 2 separate classes, one for each discipline. It sounds like common sense, right? Well, let's walk through why we know it's common sense. First off, the 2 disciplines just don't work together in the same curriculum. They just don't. 2, students need more time and opportunity for practical, hands-on experience. And 3, the same professor really just should not be teaching both disciplines. So probably the chief authority on this matter are the students who are actually in the class right now. And I got to interview some of them over email last week. First off, we have John Brennan, who's a sophomore, and he shared that it doesn't make much sense to combine them, seeing as the positions of director and stage manager are only tangentially related. It feels a lot like a B-term class and a D-term class rather than one coherent curriculum. And then we have senior Melanie Ernst, who added that any student would get a more detailed education on either subject if they had an entire semester devoted to it rather than just one half. So the result we have here is a watered-down version of a directing class and a watered-down version of a stage management class instead of one coherent curriculum that uses both subjects to enrich the other. I don't want a watered-down education and what I want to do with my life. In her 1998 book, The Director's Companion, Mel Shapiro argues that teaching directing requires practical and hands-on experience because she must teach students how to teach themselves to direct. Splitting up the curriculums would do just that. John Brennan also said that more time would give us more chances for practical learning. He cited the specific example of if an entire semester had been dedicated, that each student would have gotten to direct a 10-minute scene instead of just a 90-second one. And so you can see the difference there in the education. And finally, it does not make sense for the same professor to be teaching a directing class, for a production professor to be teaching a directing class. And it doesn't make sense for a performance professor to be teaching a stage management class. In a 2010 journal article from the Australasian Drama Studies Journal, David O'Donnell discusses how teaching directing requires familiarizing students with the multiplicity of roles of a director in both a creative and pragmatic sense. Right now, a production design professor is teaching THEA 331. So students are getting the pragmatic side, the technical, administrative side, but they're not getting the creative education they would need if an actual director was teaching the class. In the same way, if a director taught the class, the directing part would be great, but the stage management side would lack that technical, administrative edge of an actual stage manager. So, I know I just said a lot of words that might make more sense if you knew more about theater. So let's condense that into a few main points. First, there is a whole genre of theater students who feel neglected because they're not getting the practical experience and attention they need in order to succeed in the real world as a director for theater. And second, changing this theater class into 2 separate classes will give them those things, to an extent. It's a baby step, but it's a baby step in the right direction. Hopefully, one day Liberty can have specialized production programs for theater students, but for right now, tweaking the curriculum in this way can produce some results immediately for students. And some results right now is going to be better than hypothetical results in the distant future. Now, what can you do to help this become a reality? This may seem simple, but go see shows in the department. Not only are they very well done and you will have a great time, but more tickets sold equals more revenue for the department, equals more budget, equals more breathing room to even consider making curriculum changes, even like a small tweak like this, but bigger and better changes also down the road for more specialized programs. Ann Philotzis from the theater department at Purdue University said that despite the central role of the director in theatrical production in the USA, the instruction in directing in the US has largely been ignored by scholars. Liberty's whole mission is training champions for Christ, being better, being more innovative. Let's not be like the standard university theater programs that neglect budding directing students. Let's rise above that standard. Let's be the standard. Right now, Liberty has the power to change the face of collegiate theater in America. I want that not just for myself, not just for my classmates, not even just for my university, but for every young person with a spark in their eye that says, I think I want to be a director one day. Splitting Theater 331 into 2 classes is not the solution to our problem, but it's the beginning of one. And sometimes, beginning is half the battle. Thank you for your time.